Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augmented Experience podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down every week to talk about all the latest news in the technology, business, and video game world. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas. I'm your host as usual, and obviously, welcome back to the show. Today's episode 128 of the show, and before we get started, I'm going to do the house cleaning real quick because, well, we always do house cleaning around here anyway, so, I don't know what to really tell y'all. It's a very interesting week, not going to lie. Very interesting. But, let's just get right into a house cleaning. I think you guys don't want me stalling anymore, so. But, anywho. Oh my God. Anywho, thank you guys for coming back and listening. It really means a lot to me. You guys constantly keep coming back and you keep downloading these episodes. You keep sharing these episodes. You constantly keep letting me know how you guys feel about them, how you feel about the topics. Obviously you guys also care about how I'm doing too. So I greatly appreciate that. You guys constantly keep coming back and supporting me, whether you download the episodes, you share the episodes, whether you're a Patreon backer and you support me financially, which thank you guys. You guys are still great. Obviously, if you guys are interested, you can obviously become a Patreon backer and get early access to the new episodes. It's only $2 a month. Granted, I'm also still working on new tiers for Patreon backers to get, more exclusive things and going from there to make it a little bit more enticing for Patreon backers to get early access. But I will say that it is very interesting so far with all the news going on. So it is interesting. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I will also say thank you guys. We're almost close to 1,900 total downloads, so I greatly appreciate that. You guys are awesome. Continue to stay awesome, and I love you guys to death because you guys, make all this possible for me, and I just get to have fun doing it, just talking to you guys about, what's going on in the tech world. And to me, it is very interesting. But aside from that, time to get on to today's topic because, like I said, we got a good amount to talk about. And today, we're going to be talking about the Apple event that happened. Well, at the time of this recording, it happened the day of, but obviously when you guys see this episode, it will be Wednesday, but you get what I'm saying. So on September 15th of 2020, obviously one of the weirdest years in human history so far we've had, because it's a funky year, not going to lie to you guys, it's pretty weird. At the Apple event, as Jon Prosser had stated, and many others have stated, that it was primarily an event focusing on the Apple Watches and the iPads. A lot of people were expecting that we were going to see new iPhones, that we were going to see AirTags, that we were going to see the over-the-ear headphones, AirPods that they were working on, the Studio Pods. But we didn't end up getting that. It was primarily just Apple Watch and iPad. And I was like, okay, cool. It's a different year. It's a different year, different style of doing things. And for me personally, it was very interesting to say the least, because we did get new Apple Watches, we did get new did get new iPads. However, it was a bit weird because it wasn't your traditional way of doing about things, and I'm actually a bit confused about this event. So let's actually talk about specifics. So what did they actually show off? So besides showing off the new Apple Watch Series 6, which we know this was going to happen, because every year they always make a new Apple Watch, and I've always gone on record and said this multiple times, the Apple Watch is still the best smartwatch you can buy. There is no competition from any other brand that can compete with just the level of features, the level of, I would say, toys that come with using an Apple Watch. That the Apple Watch is still the pinnacle of what a smartwatch should strive to be because of just how good it is. It's just so good because it does things that others cannot do and do it effectively. That's the thing. And the fact that they even took it a step further and now they added the blood oxygen sensor on it, I think that's incredibly cool. It finally got approved and they finally got it. Obviously the ECG sensor is still there, which that's obviously been actually super cool to have. But I think it's just all the health features that they constantly keep adding and that they keep doing with the Apple Watch is just amazing on the direction that they're pushing it in and how it's so different compared to everything else. That it's not like your traditional iPhones where it just feels like it's stale every year. That it just, with the Apple Watch, it's like, well, yeah, it's a very refined design. It's like fine wine, basically. You know, it's like it gets better over time. And that's essentially what happened with the Apple Watch, is that now we're at a point where the Apple Watch is the standard for smartwatches. And I think it's very cool that they, you know, have got it to the point where it's at. I think that's just being objectively honest. I don't think a lot of us saw the Apple Watch getting to the point that it did. And I think that's actually really cool. That's actually, in my opinion, that's actually awesome. And like I said, the main new feature is the blood oxygen, you know, the blood oxygen sensor, which that's incredible that they put it in there. Also the new bands, where it's a more of a single band design and not multiple. So it's just one, you know, just one band. And I think that's still cool. I like the new colors that they did with it. It looks amazing. Granted, the pricing is still the same, $399, and then obviously however much the cellular normally is. But overall, I think the Apple Watch was cool, but that wasn't the only thing they also showed, because they also showed the Apple Watch SE, which takes inspiration from the Series 4 design. It just doesn't have the always-on display, and it's a more affordable option for the Apple Watch. It's more of an affordable option that still gives you a good amount of the health benefits, and it starts at $279. So I think for that price, it's actually a really good entry point for the Apple Watch personally. And like I said, I personally still wished that Apple would open the Apple Watch and allow it to be used outside of the Apple ecosystem, because like I said, this would be a very handy watch for anybody regardless of the phone that you have, because of all the health features that it has built into it. And to me, it just, you get what I'm saying? Like, it makes sense that Apple will one day eventually open it up, but I just don't see it happening right now. That's just a hope of mine, that they would one day open the Apple Watch to be used with Android phones, because like I said, a lot of the health benefits that come with using this watch, I would say are like, it makes no sense that this is not available to everybody and that this is only just available to people with iPhones. I think Apple would make a killing opening this up to everybody. Granted, yes, like I said, I get it. Apple is a very closed ecosystem. It doesn't like letting new things put inside of it, because obviously, you know, like I said, Android is a bit unpredictable, while iOS is more predictable, more stable, even though I would make some arguments. There's some iOS launches that are a bit finicky, I'm not gonna lie to you, but I still think it'd be a smart idea that Apple would open up the Apple Watch to be used with Android phones, especially because of all the health benefits, like the amount of stories that they're sharing, how this is saving people's lives, and how people are sharing their stories of how, like I said, this watch saved their life. And I think that's very interesting to say that about a piece of technology that's genuinely impacting people's lives and making people's lives better, healthier, safer. And it's just incredible. And I think, like I said, making it more affordable as well is the best move they can do. Granted, they're also keeping the Series 3 around, which I still think it's weird that the Series 3 still exists. I thought with the SE, the Series 3 was going to die, but I guess they're going to keep the Series 3 as just, hey, if you want an Apple Watch, you don't care about the ECG, you don't care about the health stuff, you just want an Apple Watch, and the Series 3 is there. I still think that's a bit weird. I still think they should have just killed the Series 3. Like I said, if the main push is with all the health features, why would you keep pushing an Apple Watch that does not have all those health features like ECG, blood oxygen, and stuff like that? I still think it was not the best, not the best idea. That's just my opinion. Not the best. However, it wasn't the only thing they showed off. We got new iPads. We got the iPad 8, which is just the regular base standard iPad, which obviously we get a new one every year because all it is just a base iPad. It's just for people that just want an iPad. Like, same thing for like hospitals, for education purposes. Just if you need an iPad, there's an iPad. And pricing is still the same. The only difference is that it has an A12 processor now, which is much better than the A10. I think that was a good idea. Granted, it's 2 years older, but that's the whole point, is that it doesn't really matter, because the iPad 8, or just the base iPad, is just meant to give people an iPad. That's all it's pretty much supposed to exist for. That's pretty much it. Like, nothing else. But that wasn't the only thing they showed. And this is where the event becomes a very controversial, because like I said, I did skip over some of the Apple Watch things. There were some things that I will come back and touch on. But I mainly wanted to get to the controversial part of this event because, yes, we did get the new iPad Air, the iPad Air refresh that everybody's been waiting for, that it now looks like the traditional, or I would not say traditional, but it now looks like the iPad Pros, where the bezel-less design, more square shape, more better body and things like that. But what makes this a bit controversial is, yes, it does not have Face ID. That's, for a lot of people, they can see that as a pro. Some people view it as a con. But the Touch ID sensor is in the power button, which I think that's actually pretty cool, especially given these times where we're in basically in COVID times, where using Face ID is not the best way of going about things, especially because, like I said, Face ID relies on looking at your face, and with a mask on, it makes it a bit more challenging. And a lot of people are like, well, this is where Touch ID would come in handy and having options. So to me personally, it's a smart idea that Apple went back to Touch ID. I personally see some problems with it, but we'll talk about that as we go on. We also saw that, yes, it's a 10.9-inch display now because they stressed that display. So it's not exactly like the 11-inch, but it pretty much is an 11-inch because it uses the same accessories. I will also say that we didn't get much word about the, I would say, battery life. We didn't get anything about, I'm trying to see, like, storage options. We did get pricing, but we also got the big reveal, which is the processor. The fact that it's using the A14 processor now. If you guys don't know, Apple's processors have been, the industry standard in terms of silicone inside of smartphones and tablets because they're just so ahead of what Qualcomm has to offer. And the fact that now the A14 is a 5-nanometer process, the first 5-nanometer processor on the market right now, which is incredibly power efficient, which I wouldn't be surprised if this thing's going to be a beast in performance. However, the fact that they revealed it in the iPad Air instead of the iPad Pro refresh at the start of the year, for a lot of people, this is concerning because that doesn't make much sense to launch a new iPad Pro, the iPad Pro refresh that everyone was waiting on, and to give it a quote-unquote weaker processor. Or I wouldn't even say weaker, but just a older version of a processor. You get what I'm saying? And it's a bit weird, especially because, like I said, the fact that the Air has the new 5-nanometer processor, the A14, granted it's only 6 cores for the CPU and then 4 cores for the GPU, it's a bit weird because on paper it doesn't seem as capable as the A12Z, which is inside of the iPad Pro, which is the one that I own right now. And the fact that that's 8 cores CPU, 8 cores GPU, but it's not the same. And it's going to be interesting once we get performance in regards to both of these things, because like I said, a lot of people are going to be comparing it, especially because of the price point where the iPad Air is now $599 and it comes in multiple colors. A lot of people aren't happy about that. They're not happy that we're going in a weird direction of things, that we are currently dealing with price hikes, because like I said, with all the new technology, there's going to be price hikes. Granted, I know some people are going to say, well, what about the Apple Watch? The Apple Watch never changes in price. But I'm like, well, yeah, that's also because they discontinue the old model like before the new one comes out, because that's just how Apple operates in regards to that stuff. But with the iPad Air, it's a bit weird because you would expect the Pro model to get the better processor. Granted, I think the Pro would have an 8-core CPU and 8-core GPU version of that A14. But this also leads into rumors that there is going to be another iPad Air, or I wouldn't say iPad Air, but another iPad Pro refresh this year, which this would be the one that has the mini LED display and would have the A14X or whatever they want to call it, Z, Y, I don't care what they call it, but it's going to have an A14 processor. But this makes it very interesting because that makes people think, why did they release the iPad Pro at the start of the year then? What was the point? If they're going to just release a better processor that makes it not obsolete, but makes it a bit weird in terms of value proposition, because a lot of people are questioning how now this makes it seem, so what is the difference between the Air and the Pros now? Because if the Air was always viewed as the mid-range, like better than the base iPad, but still not as good as the Pro, but now you gave it a better processor or a newer processor than the Pro. Granted, yes, it still doesn't have the 120 hertz display or ProMotion. It still doesn't have that, which I think this will lead into the latency issues that will probably that will pop up using the new iPad Air, because like I said, ProMotion is there to help reduce the latency of the Apple Pencil, which granted with the new iPad Air, it has support for the Apple Pencil Gen 2 and also USB-C. So it makes it a bit weird, you know? In the grand scheme of things, it's very odd. It doesn't make much sense. It's just a bit confusing. You get what I'm saying? Like, why would you undercut the sales of the Pro? And I get it. Like, you made the Pro more affordable. Like, the 11-inch starts at like, I forgot what it starts at exactly, like $799, somewhere around that range. Like, I got my 256 gigabyte iPad Pro, the 11-inch, for $830. And I'm just like, interesting, you know? And this just makes me question, like, what was the point of making the Air that good? And granted, a lot of people are mad about the Air going up to $600 because they're like, you know, that kind of defeats the purpose of the Air, especially when you think about the bigger storage options too, because the bigger storage options are going to be pushing $1,000. And the fact that now the iPad Air isn't considered the entry or mid-range point anymore, because now it's becoming a more expensive model, it's a bit concerning. And I get why a lot of people are concerned. Granted, my concerns comes with a couple of decisions that they made. Like I said, as an iPad Pro user, what's the point of getting the Pros now if the Air is still competing well? Granted, like I said, we do not have benchmarks of this processor. We don't know how it operates doing the same workflow. Granted, I get it. It's a newer process. It's a more efficient process. And I get it. Yes, it's probably going to pack more power. Do I think that it will still outperform the A12Z? I think not, but we have to wait and see, because if it does, that's a bit concerning, because that's basically just Apple slapping all the iPad Pro like purchasers or anybody that bought an iPad Pro at the start of the year. It basically just means that they're slapping them across the face and be like, haha, you guys should have waited. There's also supports the rumors that there was going to be another iPad Pro refresh, which I still think that's weird why they would go about doing that, like doing another refresh. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, that's weird. Why would you have two refreshes in the same year? You know, like, it doesn't make much logical sense. Granted, like I said, I love the 11-inch iPad Pro, the one that I have right now, the 2020. It's great. It does everything I want it to do. I would say the power is exactly what I want. The extra storage is exactly what I want. The more RAM, because that's something people have to think about in the grand scheme of things as well, is how much RAM is this thing going to have? You know, like, I do not think it's going to still have the 6 gigabytes of RAM. I think that's going to be something exclusively to the Pros. And they probably might bump up the Pros to 8 gigabytes if they do another refresh. But I see this new iPad Air being stuck at 4 gigabytes of RAM. I see it not getting ProMotion because, like I said, I think that would be a weird value proposition to give ProMotion to a $600 iPad. Because, like I said, that basically undercuts the sales of the Pro and makes no sense on why anybody should buy the Pros anymore. So I think ProMotion will never hit the iPad Air. I think it won't. I think it will just stay at 60 hertz, and you're going to deal with some delays and latency issues with the Apple Pencil as a result of it. I think, yes, the processor is more efficient, more power. Well, I wouldn't say more powerful because, like I said, we don't know. I think more efficient is a better term to use. I think we're going to see the RAM might come in handy, or I'd say the issues with the RAM, because, like I said, we don't know how much RAM this thing has. We don't even know the storage options, the base storage. But given Apple's track record so far this year, it's probably going to be 128 as the base, which I think that's perfect for a lot of people. I think even 256 is overkill for a lot of people as well. But I'm a bit confused. I'm not going to go out of my way and say that this is horse crap, because, like I said, I was a bit salty watching the events because, like I said, I am an iPad Pro enthusiast. I prefer the iPad Pro. When I think about buying an iPad, I always go to the Pro. I do not go for anything in between. I always go to the Pros because the Pros will do the job that I need to do. And that's why I don't focus on the lower end models. But I see how for a lot of people now, the iPad Air presents a good value proposition, especially for college students, especially for, you know, I wouldn't even say college students. I would just say even high school students. Like, you don't really need anything better than an iPad for high school, to be honest. Like, you don't need a $2,000+ MacBook. You don't need a $1,000+ MacBook. I don't even think you need more than a Chromebook, to be honest, in high school, but that's my personal opinion. But I think it's interesting. Like I said, I want to see more tests of this. I want to see this thing being used. I want to see the processor being pushed. I firmly believe that it's still not as powerful as the A12Z. I think that's what the new iPad Pro refresh will have, is the A12 or the A14X, which is going to be like the big leap in performance, the big battery king. I personally think this iPad Air is going to be a battery monster. I think it's going to have incredible battery life. I think it will last a whole day with no issues, especially with the more efficient process. And it'll be interesting to see what happens, Like, am I salty? Yes. I'm not going to lie to you. I think it was still weird that Apple launched the new processor. Yes. Granted, I get it. They always launch a new processor with the iPhones, and then with the iPhones, they show off the iPad. I still think it was weird that they went about it the way they did. I do not think it was a bright idea to introduce the A14 processor inside the iPad Air if the Pros didn't get it. I think the Pros should have got the A14X or A14 whatever, maybe Z, W, like I said, whatever they want to call this thing. I still think the Pros should have got the A14 first. Because like I said, it is the big professional device. It's still the big iPad that Apple needs to push to sell, because like I said, it's considered a laptop replacement. That's what the iPad has been pushed as, that it's able to do a lot of the tasks that you're able to do on a Windows machine, a Windows laptop, and just do it in a smaller form factor. But a lot of people are questioning, does this mean that the iPad Pros are obsolete now? I would say no, but I would understand why people say that. I think that it is a bit weird that Apple went about things the way they did. Like I said, it does not make logical sense to do it the way they did, but I am grateful that the iPad Air did get the necessary update it needed, that now it falls in line with the more modern design of the iPads. I think putting Touch ID was a great idea, especially because to reduce costs to not put Face ID, I think putting Touch ID was great. The only problem I can see with Touch ID being in this iPad is the fact that if you put a case on it. Granted, I think there's going to be people like making cases where it has the whole cut for the power button, so you can scan it and scan your finger and basically get in it. But aside from that, it's very interesting. $599, I get why a lot of people are mad. That's a $100 difference between the $499 that it was before, but it makes sense. Like the updated display, the better processor, the new Apple Pencil support, and things like that. It made sense that it all added up that they had to increase price because they know that it's a very popular product. Do I still think that they could have tried to make it $499? Yes. I still think it would have been a wise idea to keep it that way, but that's just my opinion, like I said. But there was also new information regarding the software updates coming: iOS 14, iPadOS update, watchOS update, Apple TV update, and obviously the new macOS update as well, that those will be launching tomorrow. So, or at the time of this recording, it would launch September 16th. And that's going to be interesting. Like I said, a lot of people are waiting for iOS 14, especially because of the new changes with widgets and stuff like that. With iPadOS 14, the fact that you get like Scribble, which allows you to write with your Apple Pencil and then it gets immediately turned into typed text, which I think that's amazing. An amazing feature to have. That comes in so handy for a lot of people. They also showed off new services like Apple Fitness Plus, where this is a fitness program that is completely operated by the Apple Watch, where you basically get a fitness program and you can do it wherever. As long as you have an Apple product that can display the information on the screen, then you're pretty much good. And surprisingly, it's actually pretty affordable. For $7.99 a month, or actually no, I think it was $9.99 a month. There we go. $9.99 a month, so $9.99. And then for the whole year, it's $79.99. And I think personally, for a lot of people that like to work out, that like using the fitness tracking features built into the Apple Watch, because like I said, it's primarily for the Apple Watch, I think this is a great thing for a lot of people. I think this is a smart move that Apple has continued to show that they're investing more in their services, that they're providing more incentives to stay in their ecosystem, because like I said, that is the whole point of doing this, is to stay in the ecosystem. The ecosystem is key in this situation. But in my opinion, I think it's a great idea. This is a great move for Apple to hire their own personal trainers, to, like I said, publish new videos every week, and just give their users more incentives to buy their products and stay in the ecosystem and use those services to their fullest. I think this is amazing. I think this is great. Like I said, the Apple Watch is already an amazing product to begin with, and now you're adding services to go with it. I think that's a cherry on top, and it just makes this experience so much better in the grand scheme of things. I will also say that the Apple Watches are very interesting because they will launch this Friday. So they will launch I believe it's the 18th. Yes, the 18th of September is when the watches will launch. The iPad Air will not launch until October, so we won't see anything about it until then. Granted, we know that there's also going to be the iPhone event in October or November, but I think it's probably in October. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because does that mean that, like I said, are we getting another iPad Pro refresh rate? Are we getting a new refresh for the iPad Pros? Because we knew there was an iPad Pro that was going to have mini LED, that they want the Pros to have the absolute peak features of the iPads, which in time they'll trickle down into the other iPads, which that's what happened. The new design from the 2018 iPad Pro trickled down into the Air. The support for the new Apple Pencil trickled down as well. USB-C trickled down as well. Obviously, the cameras with LiDAR did not trickle down, but in time they will. And I think it's going to be interesting seeing how this all plays out. Granted, like I said, I'm not going to make a judgment call based on the performance, because like I said, we need to see the performance. I do not believe if you have a 2020 iPad Pro that it's obsolete, because it's not. I get it. It sucks that they did do that they launched the new processor with a cheaper iPad instead of the Pro, because if anything, like I said, I think the Pro should have had the best processor from the get-go, and then everybody else gets a version of it, but not the best version of it, because like I said, the Pro is supposed to be the flagship item for Apple in terms of iPads. But it's going to be interesting once we get the benchmarks. I still think the Pro, for a lot of people that do a lot of professional work, that need promotion, if you're an artist, if you're, you need the latency with the Apple Pencil and things like that, if you want the better Hertz display for gaming and things like that, if you want the bigger sizes and bigger battery life, then I think the Pros are still worth it. Like I said, granted, I know it sucks a bit because, the new processors just came out. Granted, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a multi-core beast, though, but we don't know, because like I said, we don't have test benches. We don't have numbers to go off of. We're just going off pure speculation and just what we can see that was shown to us. But overall, I still think this is a very good event for Apple. One thing I will say is Apple, again, the cinematography and the videography done is incredible. Like, mwah, chef's kiss. And I basically just hit my elbow. So that probably gives it away that, yeah. It's a very, very good event. I think it was well done, well presented, straight to the point. It was only an hour. And I'm excited to see what Apple has in store. Especially because, like I said, we still need the iPhones. We still need to see if there's going to be a new iPad Pro. We still need to see AirTags. We still need to see the HomePods. We still need to see, well, the Studio Pods, and then also like the HomePod Mini. And it's very interesting in the grand scheme of things. I am not going to lie to you guys. It's very enticing. It's a very fun time to think about what Apple's doing, because like I said, Apple is currently pushing this transition into their own silicone. And next week, we will have an episode where we will talk about a very big silicone company getting bought out by a very big GPU company. But I'm not doing that one alone. And we will have a guest, and I love that he's coming back because it's been a while since he's been on the show. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you guys for coming back and listening. Like I said, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, thank you guys for your time. Leave a like, leave a dislike. You guys do whatever you want. Leave in the comment section down below. How do you feel about this event? If you watched it, and if you haven't watched it, go watch it and then come back and then let me know what you think about it. And what products are you excited for? I know there's a lot of people that are excited for Apple Watches because, like I said, the Apple Watch all the health features that come with it are just mind-boggling how amazing they are. I would say I'm on the fence about the iPad Air. I think, granted, the new colors look amazing. They really do. Like, the fact that now they're going full color mode with them, it looks great. I think the new horsepower, the new design, using Touch ID is a great idea. It just really comes down to how it's all executed in the grand scheme of things, and just seeing how does this really affect the Pro. And I know in time we're going to see reviews on people doing that, like how does this affect the Pro and things like that. But thank you guys so much for your time. I love you guys to death. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you like to listen to your podcast, thank you guys for coming back. I really, really appreciate y'all. You guys are awesome. Please continue to download and share the episodes. If you're interested, again, on becoming a Patreon backer, you can click on the link down below and become a Patreon backer for $2 a month. Get early access to the new episodes. I will, in time, be adding new tiers to the Patreon to give people more incentives to become backers and give you guys more content, because that's just how I am. Is I prefer giving you guys good content. Like I said, that's why I said for me, starting off, giving you guys early access to the episodes is a good idea for me personally. And I just hope you guys enjoy them. Like, that's just me. But I can obviously tell you guys are enjoying the episodes because you keep downloading them and keep sharing them. And we're almost close to 2,000 total downloads. So you guys continue to be awesome. I love you guys to death. Please continue to be safe and take care of everyone around you. Please be respectful of other people's space, because like I said, things are different right now. Times are different. Things are weird. And we just have to take care of everyone around us and be respectful and be mindful of what's going on, and not just oblivious to things and not be so self-centered about things. That we just be mindful, think about the greater good for everybody, and, take care of ourselves as well, But I love you guys to death. Please continue to be safe. And I will see you guys next week, because like I said, next week we will be talking about this big story that got dropped this week. And I want time to think about it, to research, and then also get my guests, give him time to get more informed about it, because we're going to have a long talk next week. But I love you guys to death. Please continue to be safe. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Hey there. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. If you're interested in supporting the show, whether it be financially, clicking the follow button, or just sharing the episode, it all works for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I love you guys to death.